Welcome, Keith Mills, for our discussion today.
Sure.
Candidate for our mayor's race. We are pleased to have you today, and I just wanted to do a little bit of an introduction based on what I've been able to glean, though I don't have sort of a formal official bio for you. And then maybe we'll just ask you to introduce yourself to the group in terms of what you're all about and your experiences and those kinds of things. But what I pulled off of your bio was you're sort of a regular guy who has had an interesting lived experience, right? I mean, you kind of grew up here in Akron. You attended Akron schools. At one point in your life in high school, unfortunately, you were homeless for a period of time. But then you sort of got back. You finished your degree. You've worked in schools for about 13 years, both on the staff and as a teacher as well.
That's right.
And also for Portage Developmental Disability Board. Is that
Portage
right?
County
As well?
Portage
And I sort of glean that you're part of your reason for running is you just want to see a little bit different approach to government, and you have some ideas about moving us forward. So part of our discussion with the business community here and others is sort of we're really interested in some of those ideas and some of those opportunities that you see as we go forward. We'd love to hear about that. But why don't you just start by telling us why now for the role of Akron Mayor?
Okay. First off, they're going to be huge shoes to right our city, as everybody's people are calling. Me personally, it kind of goes back to what you said, I'm only interested in fixing things. I'm not interested in anything else. And a lot of people like to talk, and then stuff kind of goes by the wayside. It happens in education all the time. Being a teacher, we talk about things and they just kind of disappear. On to the next one. So I'm personally driven by that. I'm internally hard on myself, probably for no reason. So it's a motivator, a driver. I come from a family who, they didn't get their masters, they didn't get their bachelors. They're just, go to work 9 to 5 or whatever if I can find work, and that's it. So I kind of like, for my family, for me, I want to strive to be better because I know where I came from. I could have stayed that way. I could have stayed homeless. I could have stayed, just got my GED and just, become a working person at Advanced Auto Parts for the rest of my life. But I wanted something better, and I want that. I want to project it on the city of Akron. Growing up in Akron and being around since, 8, 9 years old, basically living here, we say a lot of things, but talk is cheap. Talk is cheap. So now's the time for change. We need to stop talking about how our tire's flat and actually go change it. That's the mindset that I want to bring to office, and that's one of the reasons I was like, okay, people are calling for leadership. Someone's younger, someone who's more connected to that base. So I'm like, you know what? No one else is stepping up. So I guess like my dad said, you can't just hang out. You got to do something. So
So that's what's motivating you. So tell me, you're sitting with a group of people from the business community, folks who are very focused. A lot of our work is around the euphemistic term economic development. What we want to do is we want to see how we can help to grow our businesses, help to create jobs, help to create more investment in our region.
Definitely.
Are there specific areas of focus that you've seen in this current administration or that you would like to sort of focus on around economic development for our region and for the city specifically?
More support for small and medium-sized businesses. We had a whole bunch of money. We still have some left, from what I understand, from the ARPA funds, and it just it disappeared. Your common folk doesn't know where it went. You just but when they see that number, hundreds of millions of dollars, they're like, oh my God! So it's just overwhelming for them. I have a lot of people who are small business owners, friends. I have one lady, she has been operating out of her kitchen for years making cakes. And these people from Columbus wanting her business, but she can't expand because of a credit issue or a lack of being able to get a loan from a bank. So it kind of hampers her to being operating out of her kitchen. And these are specialty cakes, ones that are wrapped for fondant and stuff and it's like, I feel really bad for Lakeitha because she can't expand, she has all these orders. Where, so I would kind of want to focus on how can we close those gaps from the mayor's office. What does it take? And you can shut anything down you want if you start questioning the steps, when the overall focus should be, how can we fix this? And then you start combating the steps of how to fix this.
So when we think about some of the tools that we have today, things like the Akron Resiliency Fund or Bounce or the Development Fund of the Western Reserve, et cetera, are there specific things that as mayor you'd want to see them do to make that, for example, capital more available or help more available? What kinds of ideas do you have there?
So I was poking around. Toledo has an idea, economic development. There's a fund there where they can actually loan out money, small grants, small loans, to try to help make people get through that first, second year of small business, because it's really huge.
Sure.
Usually, a lot of people don't make it past their first year. It's because of liquidity. I have friends who over at Bounce. I want to expand that, so maybe we can, if make some, maybe the overhead, try to cut some of that. I know we work with it already, but try to cut some of the overhead about the the rent and being able to have
For the
access
businesses.
for the businesses.
Okay,
Yeah,
got
for the
it.
businesses, and I want to make it more accessible to people. And so some people can't get loans. I want them to say, hey, you're not going to be just forgotten about. You can actually reach out to the mayor's office. There'll be somebody on staff to help you navigate, writing business proposals or writing if they think they can apply for a grant, we can help them write for that, so they're not just out in the wind.
So do you sort of see a role in your cabinet then for somebody to be on point for entrepreneurship, for small business, or is it broader economic development? Have you thought about the kinds of people you need to put around you?
Yes,
to help
absolutely.
drive the city forward?
So I do want to have somebody on staff for small business and for a pinpoint for somebody who actually tackles that. Obviously, we want to have somebody for bigger businesses, of course. No one's going to be left out and whatnot. But I do want to have somebody on point, who is experienced in writing business proposals and grants and whatnot to help with that. To be,
So one of the things that, as we talk to employers, we do lots of visits with employers throughout the year, and workforce is one of the biggest issues that they're sort of dealing with right now, right?
Sure.
That they've got concerns about. One of the things that I saw recently was that, 10 years ago or so, the city had about 1,000 kids in its work and employment program. And that number has come down now to about 100 for various reasons. But do you have specific ideas about how we better connect with students, with schools,
Sure.
or help with that employment issue from the perspective of the city?
Yes. So a really big thing that I've been kicking around and actually want to see come to fruition, even if I'm not mayor, is that the city, it could be a couple-step process where the city reaches out to the schools, be them Akron public or private, Catholic, it doesn't matter, because the end goal is the same. Reach out to them and provide them opportunity or pathway for trades, so they can get on to getting their union card. I would like to hire somebody who is a union-carrying electrician, union-carrying plumber, union-carrying carpenter, okay, to help train and help them get a pathway to, to be, like I said, to be a part of the union hall. They'll be able to, we'll buy houses that are dilapidated, just sitting around there, it's everywhere in Akron. The city will buy them, we'll partner with the land bank, if need to. We'll purchase these houses, and they'll get their experience by coming in, fixing these houses, and then we sell them back as a community as at cost or if not below.
So you see sort of housing and affordable housing as a major issue for your administration as well?
Yes, I do. A lot of people my age, I'm 41 and below, we can't afford houses. A lot of us, generation, ripe with, I've got a bachelor's, I've got a master's, you've got no experience, we can't hire you. Or if we want to hire you, we want to pay you $8 an hour, but I got a master's. Yeah, we don't care. So it's like I and a lot of people like me have bought into this idea that, hey, you go get your bachelor's, it will come. It didn't come. You get your master's, it'll come. And then a lot of us are on a hook for $100,000+ in school loans.
Yep.
That we're just, that's a house. For all intents and purposes, a house. Maybe 2 houses, depending where you're living. So it's like, it's a huge thing. One of my opponents, colleagues, is saying that about, really pushing for the tiny homes or different homes and the zoning, and that's great and dandy. But for the average layperson, doesn't mean a hill of beans. So we can rechange zoning, but how do we make housing more affordable and more equitable for people to get their start? Because as we know, from day one, owning a house, that was the American dream. That's part of it. That's how you gain equity. That's how you, generational wealth. Everything they talk about, it goes back to that. I was a renter until like 25. I didn't have a house. I never lived in a house until I got, and I got slapped with 15% interest for that house, and by hook or by crook, I paid it off. I got it done. You know what I mean? So now, and I have 4 houses now. I'm not, I can't just quit.
Yep.
But it's like some people are not as lucky as me. They're not as blessed as me. That mindset. So how do we change that? So housing is a huge deal.
So You spent a lot of time, last 15 years or so, in and around schools.
Yep.
In and around students, and as we look at Akron Public Schools, we view that as probably the region's biggest single source of new talent, right, for our region.
Yes.
So do you have a perspective on the role the mayor needs to play with our schools? There's a lot going on in our schools right now in Akron. How would you, in your administration, either work alongside of, be supportive of, or sort of address some of the issues that we're seeing in our schools?
Sure. I would work alongside of. I don't think we get anywhere with, attacking each other, nitpicking. We could pick anything. We could nitpick all day about anything, but where does it leave us at the end of the day? So we must be a partner with Akron Public Schools, and what the end goal is. It doesn't really matter about the bureaucracy. It doesn't matter about who's getting paid what. I mean, it does in administration, but the end goal is how can we prepare our students to have a successful life, keep them out of jail, keep them on a right path, and grow them. And that should be the end goal in reasoning. So I want to throw a lot of money, a lot of resources at our recreation department to try and close gaps, and make that a possibility. So say if Akron Public needs resources in that area, maybe we could work together to provide after-school programming, and that kind of thing. The safety is also an issue, and I want to be able to provide resources for that as well, and mental health.
Okay. And so as you think about the opportunities to invest in our community as well, any specific thoughts on sort of what your vision for our downtown might be, or our neighborhoods? Do you look at downtown and neighborhoods as places for investment and opportunity? Do you have a bias in one part of that equation or the other? Just trying to get a sense of.
I do have some of a bias.
Yeah. Okay.
Neighborhoods first.
Okay.
And then they come to the center spoke. Downtown's very nice. Very wide sidewalks. It really stands out to you. People, downtown's nice, but I want to focus on neighborhoods. Like when I was, my grandmother's house, I was very close to the Firestone Business District. So when I was a kid, we would walk down there, and I've seen how it changed over the years. So, vacancies and whatnot. It used to be a Dairy Mart, now it's like, so, and I'm like, and he's still here, he's still there at the convenience store, which is great and stuff, but then, pizza shop after pizza shop, gone, and it's like, how can I revitalize those areas? Kenmore is doing really great right now. They've been trying to reduce some of the vacancies there, and I want to have a landlord liaison for that as well, for commercial and private property for people.
And their job would be, what do you think that person does for you then?
So you'd have a lot of people who are like, well, it goes for both business and for private, absentee. They don't, you either pay me, you get out. Like there's no, and that is not the bigger picture. Okay, the bigger picture is it is very hard to keep a tenant who pays, on time. Okay,
right.
And if you do, you don't want to chase them away. Slow money is better than no money.
Right.
Okay, that's a whole mindset or thinking. So my person on staff would be able to reach out and and talk to that landlord, get a hold of them, and they may pick up the phone if it's a more official capacity. Hey, this is so and so from the city of Akron, blah blah blah. So they wait a minute, instead of Alice Smith calling, Alice whatever, you're 2 months behind.
Themselves.
Yeah, the residents themselves.
So we had a question in one of our other discussions about point of view about investment that's happening in our city by what some might call absent landlords or companies that have acquired large swaths of properties and aren't necessarily. Are there specific things that you would sort of be doing with those companies or ways of monitoring that you've thought about? Because it sounds like you also are a landlord. You've got 4 homes and you sort of rent them out. Okay.
Yeah, I get calls almost every week, and I get postcards in the mail saying, hey, sell us your property, sell us your property. I'm not moving my dad out. We paid the house off, he's staying there until he passes. I'm not. That's, you know what I mean? And I know that, like I said before, I'm maybe in a different position than some people. But I'm very against, outsiders coming in, gaining that land. So I'm very negative on it. Okay. So they can wrap them up in an REIT and try and sell it off or whatever else.
So you think there should be some more guardrails there?
There should be.
Okay.
Education would be something that we could do for for people who do have home ownership and land ownership in Akron. Like, hey, these people are out here. These are the facts. This is what happens.
Okay.
If anybody does call you do not fall. And it also opens up for scams too, when people get wrapped up. Because for a lot of people, if they do own their home, that's their biggest thing that they do own. That's their thing.
Usually the biggest asset, right?
Right. So I would love to start with education. Like, these people are from out of town. They're not necessary for you. And if you do need financial help, is there something that we, the city, can do to prevent you from offloading that house? Or can we provide financial incentives for you to keep the house and sell it to another resident,
Right.
and not an entity out? Yeah, so.
Questions anybody has for Keith, or things you want to sort of inquire of him as we sort of talk about these things? Any questions?
Keith, I have a quick question. A few years ago, the Elevate Greater Akron program was rolled out by the City of Akron, County of Summit, Greater Akron Chamber. And one of the economic development initiatives that was initiated is an extensive business retention and expansion outreach program, where the city, the county, the chamber, working with suburban jurisdictions, will meet with more than 300 companies of all sizes in
Yeah.
different categories and clusters, such as downtown, polymer, or minority owned. Is that a type of program that you would be interested in continuing or expanding upon?
Yes.
So I don't want to repeat the question because I'm not sure if we were able to get that. But the question is sort of your interest in increasing or continuing the business retention and expansion visits that we're doing with companies
Yeah.
to understand their needs and think about how we can help them invest and grow.
No, I think the whole thing's positive. I wouldn't want to quit something that is helping retain small businesses and doing research to say, hey, here's where niche factors are. Here's where you could actually locate. Here's what you could do to actually be profitably growing. That's something I'm definitely interested in keeping.
Okay. What other questions folks have? Jeff?
Sure.
When you look at the city of Akron, right, it's had like this stagnant, trotting along trend for a long time.
Mhm.
It seems like there's a lot of things going in the right direction right now. What I call planting seeds, right? That
Yes.
really kind of come to fruition yet. What would you see as your number one priority to help carry that momentum that's been started into fruition or development? I mean, some of the downtown development and the coordination from all the different civic organizations, right? Trying to get on a common message. So what would be your number one initiative to help carry that progress that the city of Akron has made forward, and what would you see as like, hey, this is the first thing we need to do to really kind of push that into the next level?
So just to repeat the question, there seems to be some foundation that's been laid over the last few years, and some sense of maybe a start of some momentum. What would be your top priorities to sort of continue that or to sort of build on that?
Right off the rip, coordinate with all agencies and all local nonprofits groups to come together in one conference room and talk about how can we get on the same page. There's a lot of things that fall through the gaps or the cracks. So your average day citizen has no idea what these places do, and I speak for them for all intents and purposes. They're in name only. I don't know what they do. I have no idea. I go about my life. I work 9 to 5. So if these agencies want to get their message and services out, we all have to be on the same page to coordinate and have the city lead that and getting it out, spreading it out to the citizens, saying, hey, you can actually go to the museum for free. You can actually come down to downtown. You can do this for free. You can do this for free. There's so many things that we have available in Akron nobody knows about until you start looking. But who's to say they're even going to look? So I know people stare at, like, just for an offshoot, for instance, people stare at their phones all the time, right? I work in the schools, everybody's on Instagram. It's a big thing.
Yeah.
So when they're swiping, why can't we have ads that are professionally done or have content creators who have been doing this grab their eyeballs? Like, hey, you can do this for free. 30 seconds. Why can't the city of Akron, the mayor's office, promote and do that? It is so easy to make it real. It is stupid easy. It's something that we can done for cheap. It doesn't take a whole bunch of money. And if we throw our money away, we're just being silly with it. Because once your money's gone, it's gone. That is it. So we need to do those things where we can grab younger eyeballs and pull them in to services that, so I think everybody be on the same page is my first step instead of just being out here in the wind.
Other questions folks have? So go ahead, please. Annie.
Hi.
Hi.
You talked decently about housing. So in terms
Yeah.
of things that are already being done, as well as small business, So, you know, what's your position on residential tax abatement? Do you think that's working? Is that something you would keep or augment? And then I think on the small business side, for example, the Great Streets program and how that is functioning and what that is doing for small businesses, is that something you're interested in keeping or augmenting or getting rid of?
So the question was about residential tax abatement. What's your point of view on that? And then also programs like the Akron Great Streets program.
Great Streets keep. I actually see things happening with that. So keep it and grow it and see it expand. Tax abatement, augment. I'm not for just here's a 15-year tax abatement, no money for you, basically. And that's how it's framed, that's how it's coming out. I would want to augment that to people who just, regular person comes in, buys one of our older homes, and they live there, we should give them something. So yeah, I would augment it. I'm not for just, hey, new build only. We have some zoning issues and whatnot. People cannot afford necessary new build. I know when I'm, driving on the road and I see a house, and it's not really here, but houses starting in the 220s, regular Joe Schmo, I'm not buying that house. Who's buying that house? Not me. So I want to focus on more of our older build and giving residents a reason to, when they go shopping for a house, don't go to Canton, don't go to Fairlawn necessarily, come here. Because we will offer, less, taxes for your property taxes.
Keith, would that be focused on, based on improvements people make to their property, or just if you purchase a house of any type in the city, you'd get a tax break?
Well, see, so that there would be loopholes there, because you would, anybody could come in and buy a dilapidated house. Sure. Not anybody, but you know what I mean. They, and buy that and get those. So we'd have to send those off. You can't just come in and put down $11,000 for a house that's leaning sideways almost, and expect to get a freebie. But it's not. So those measures we put in place. If you come in, you buy a house. We'd have to update the median value of houses in Akron and stuff, and neighborhoods and whatnot. So there'll be things where it's not just a blanket.
So a bit tied to improvement in values or those
right.
kinds of things. Okay.
Because I can see how somebody would take advantage of that. Yeah. Definitely, for sure.
For every law, there's a way to sort of
That's
penetrate,
right?
right?
That's right.
Got it. Any other questions folks have? So Keith, maybe just take a moment or two to sum up sort of some of the things that you think are most important for people to know about you as they think about their vote for Akron mayor, and
sure.
Anything specific that you want to tell them that is going to be a commitment that you're going to make in your new role.
Okay. Basically, I'm just here as an option for somebody if you really want. A lot of people always come out during the election cycle, change. And if anybody ever pays attention, we hardly get any change or any meaningful change. That's one of the reasons I'm here. If we want something done, we want to grow, I take it very seriously. Just running for mayor in of itself could be a headache. So it's not. So somebody just doing that, you want to make sure that their heart's in a good place. If they're going to go through those steps, like, do they really care for the citizens? Do they really care for the populace? Or are you just doing it to try to further your own career, line your pockets? There's motivators. Like, my motivator is sincerity. I'm transparent. I have nothing, literally nothing to hide. And I think that's how politicians should be. I know it's kind of, that's not how it works, but, I think that, you go into public service, you serve, you leave, you go back to private practice. That I don't believe in career politicians. I don't believe that, becoming disassociated with the common person, the regular person. If you want somebody who's critically thinking, open to all ideas across the board. I don't care if somebody's a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian. I don't care. I want ideas, and I want us to have kind of dialogue, communication. I want a back and forth, a discourse. That's how we grow. That's how we change things. I love college where we have those professors. You go back and forth. That's how you grow. And for anybody, if anybody ever tells you, I have the fix, they don't. They're lying to you. It comes out of that discourse. It comes out of somebody talking and growing.
So let me you kind of triggered an additional question for me. So
sure.
As I looked at some of your materials on your Facebook and those kinds of things in terms of your ideas around being mayor,
Yeah.
You do know, you acknowledge how hard a job it is. But you made a comment about, we're hiring somebody for this job, right? So
You are,
it's really a
yes.
process of hiring somebody for the job. And oftentimes when we hire somebody for a job, we look at, okay, what is in their background that indicates they're going to do a good job in this big job? Because it's a big job, right?
Yeah, it's
1,800
huge.
employees, cabinet, got to be out there, et cetera. So talk about what you think a couple of your best experiences have been that sort of have put you in a place where you couldn't do this job well for our community.
I don't necessarily like to boost myself up necessarily.
You're running for office, man.
I know, but I've been homeless. I've been where we had to rely on my Aunt Sheila's food stamps to try and make ends meet. Okay, I was raised by 2 women. My father wasn't always there. He'd come on the weekends. Okay, and we're still we're still close, right? So now I have a master's. I've been a custodian at Akron Public Schools. I've been the groundskeeper. I've been the parts counter guy. I've been now I'm a teacher in school. I'm coaching. Now I'm pursuing even I'm doing this because this popped up and it's an opportunity there, a huge one. But now I'm pursuing my assistant principal licensure. I don't quit. My gears are always turning, and so I think the varied experience that I have would lead me to be more grounded. Like I have a super respect for money. Like you give somebody $170,000+ to be mayor, you should expect something out of this guy or this gal. You should expect something. They shouldn't hide behind a desk. You can't lead behind a desk. You have to be out and meet people, make connections. I make connections every day. Right. I have kids who are transient. But they come back because I'm coaching esports, like just something that grounds them and brings them back after school. Like these programs, my heart's in it and I'm very sincere. I'm not, you should hire me to be the next mayor because I'm not corrupted. I'm not set in my ways, so to speak. And I don't come out here saying that I've got this bona fide and this bona fide and I came back no, man, I've been here the whole time. I've been here the whole time. I'm a regular guy. And when people do call me up and say, man, I can't pay my rent, that's okay. Because we'll figure it out because I'm not relying on your rent, thank God. You know what I mean? So it's like that mindset where, most people don't have over $1,000 in their checking or savings.
Right.
Okay? Like we need to be mindful of that. And then, but yeah, I'm running for office, but I'm not really a salesman. Right. It's just not in me. I've tried it. Yeah, I couldn't. So I couldn't sell a glove to an Eskimo. I guess I was saying.
Well, we appreciate your time with us today. We appreciate your willingness to sort of get out there and do this. This is a lot of time. All of you are out on the stump, significantly trying to put your ideas out there. So thanks for spending time with us today.
Absolutely, man. Thank you for having me.